Come on, Brucie, we've got to go. For the world's greatest detective, it sure took you a while to figure out that those tunnels don't actually lead out of the city. Alfred's come through though and traced the wallet thief's phone to just near the movie studios. Upon arrival, Brucie sadly found no miscreant, but he did find a machine, labelled as a temporal displacement machine, whatever that means. It had been activated mere moments before it arrived. After quickly changing some settings, Brucie activated the machine once again and shifted into Bruce Wayne, 24th of December, 19... Alright, Brucie, the objective is simple. Locate the cretin that stole your wallet. Now, we don't know what he looks like or who he is. Quite frankly, he could be one of these unfortunate bastards. It does make things a little bit more complicated, but we're just going to try and get through the night. Oh my god, shut up. Brucie and I are good pals, I promise. Anyway, after scaring the shit out of this guy and having a lovely little chat with this fellow, Brucie and I were off. Now, you might be wondering why exactly Brucie needs to get the location of Black Mask off the Warden, especially since you'd imagine this would be a fairly memorable night for anyone, never mind Batman. Well, you see, Brucie appears to be undergoing some minor memory loss as a result of jumping into himself in the past. He can't remember the events that he's about to experience. Couple this with the fact that I can't remember how this game plays out, and you conclude that Brucie and I are pretty much going into this one blind. A fact made clear to both of us when we encountered the giant bipedal crocodile. Pushing the disturbing images we just witnessed from our minds, Brucie and I introduced a group of inmates to the floor. Oh, that's depressing. And finally caught up with Black Mask and Mr. Jones. How do you reckon he got the name Black Mask? With that little brain teaser stashed away for later, we continued to tail the criminal element, hoping they'd lead us to our wallet. But instead, all they led us to was the gas chamber, where Commissioner Loeb was forced to retire to make way for the one, the only, Commissioner Gordon.
You wanted it smashed, so I smashed it. It had better be, or the next thing that gets smashed will be your face!
Subtle foreshadowing. Literary devices aside, Brucie and I now faced a foe like no other, a giant crocodile. It was going to take all the skill, all the training, all the plot armor we could scrounge up to emerge victorious. Oh. Some weak-ass crocodile. Okay, so all it actually took was a flap, a punch, doing a snow angel wrong, an explosion, another flap and punch, whatever the fuck this is, 2 more explosions and a kick to the jaw. Sure, easy.
Where's he going?
With the foreshadowing fulfilled and the man himself on the scene, Brucie and I made our escape. Next stop, Jezebel Plaza. But first we have to fix a radio tower, which was no trouble for Brucie and I, but you know, it's annoying, and speaking of annoying...
Well, if it isn't the King Thug himself.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Edward. With that done, now we can properly move on to Jezebel Plaza. You see, here is where I should give you a little context we're gonna need. For reasons I don't completely know, Brucie isn't a big fan of Christmas. It's probably to do with his awful childhood trauma, but it seems as though he's more concerned about dressing up as a bat and beating criminals to a pulp than getting help de-Grinchifying himself. Alright Brucie, I know you don't like Christmas, but this is an overreaction. After going full Dark Knight on this poor fellow, Brucie eventually convinced him to spill the beans on where we might find the Bat Wallet. Apparently, the Penguin keeps track of all the money in Gotham, so if we're looking for a wallet, then old mate Oswald is our man. I'm sorry, does this boat just have fucking rocket launch? How did you see that? Apparently omniscient snipers aside, Brucie and I collected ourselves and prepared for a second assault on the ship, which went much better. These two gentlemen weren't overly willing to help us find Bruce's wallet. No worries though, since we quickly dispensed with them and continued towards Oswald's office. But first, we faced the second assassin of the night, Electrocutioner. This guy looks scary, Brucie. I reckon he'll be more of a challenge than the giant crocodile. I reckon we just throw caution to the wind, run headfirst into danger. See how it goes. Alright, Brucie. Let's fucking go, Electrocutioner. Okay, maybe the bosses aren't so bad in this game. After dealing with Electrocutioner's entourage, which took considerably longer than him, we were finally able to go pay Cobblepot a visit. His guards were no match for Brucie and I, who ripped through them like a fucking storm.
Wait, I can explain.
Explain getting kicked in the jaw. Nothing could stop us as we finally came face to, I guess, bat symbol? With the Penguin. He let us know that he had no idea where our wallet was, which displeased Brucie greatly. However, he did offer a potential lead on some strange occurrences that Brucie and I agreed could be a sign of meddling by our thief. However, before we could thank Ozzy for his help, we were rudely interrupted by the third assassin of the night, Deathstroke. By now, Brucie and I were in perfect sync. We were unstoppable. This guy was going to be easy, no sweat whatsoever. God fucking damn it. Okay, so maybe he's a little difficult. No matter though, I simply used my rewind time abilities to roll back to just before the fight and have another go at him. With our ego bruised, Brucie and I fought much more aggressively, barely allowing our geriatric opponent the time to retaliate.
What are you?
I'm Batman. Well, I'm Brucie. And also me, the random Australian voice in his head. Leaving the old man with a broken hip and probably a concussion, Brucie quickly robbed him of anything of value, truly fulfilling his Esche potential. Now, it was off to follow Oswald's lead to see if the wallet thief was interfering with the timeline. Brucie and I once again did not find who we were looking for, but instead a rather grisly murder scene. Brucie immediately started doing the police force's job for them, while I was left to ponder what we'd encountered so far. Why had the wallet thief escaped to here, now? Why does Brucie hate Christmas? And why is he called Black Mask? Brucie interrupted me, muttering something about a Joker and not having enough information here to solve the crime. We needed to access the GCPD's servers. Of course, the only way to do that would be to break into the GCPD building and fiddle with their wires. I tried to remind Brucie that we were here for the miscreant, for his wallet, but he wouldn't hear it. So it was over to GCPD. The guards on the rooftop were no match for what was coming for them, and the hapless cops inside the maze of a police station didn't stand a chance either. Brucie and I were like a well-oiled machine. We had a goal and nothing could stop us. We acquired some new technology, discovered that the cops had battering-proof TVs, met a child who definitely won't be terribly injured in the future as a result of our actions, and had a conversation with Gordo. He wasn't terribly on board with the whole Batman thing, which hurt Brucie and I's feelings immensely. Nevertheless, we got out and Brucie finally put together what happened at Lacey Towers. Of course, I already knew this, but I wanted him to catch a break after what happened with Deathstroke. Break successfully caught, we headed for Gotham Merchants Bank, hoping to find more leads on our wallet thief. Instead, we found Brucie making this particularly comedic maneuver, and a number of bodies. Brucie concluded that this Joker fellow was behind it, once again losing sight of the main goal here. Come on, Brucie, maybe this Joker guy knows where our wallet is. Despite my efforts to keep him focused, Brucie continued to spiral. We smashed through the floor onto a group of unsuspecting criminals, but instead of unleashing hell on them, he just stood there, aimless, empty, depressed. Brucie was truly at a low point. All he wanted was a budding snag after a long night of hard work, and now he's here, years in the past at a point where his relationship with Alfred was strained and Gordon kept screening his calls. He had never felt so entirely alone. Then he saw it. The bright white skin, the full green hair, and that wide red smile. Psychotic laughter like no one else, and a capacity for violence that Brucie had never seen before. Brucie had something to fight for now, and fight for it he did. The poor thugs in the next room never saw him coming. Using my advanced knowledge, I concluded that a good place to look for the Joker would be the Sionis steel mill, and Brucie was out the door before I could finish my sentence. It was truly a beautiful sight, if not a little disturbing. Upon entering the steel mill, Brucie and I immediately felt as though we were being watched. Every time we went through a door, it was like the shadows were laughing at us. Unsettled, we fought our way through the steel mill to where Roman Sionis was being held. Unfortunately, in his love-struck state, Brucie's judgment was rather impaired, which resulted in a, let's say, suboptimal start to the Predator encounter. Anyway, the rest of the encounter went fine once we got our shit together and we finally got to Sionis. Now, I'll admit, this is where the cracks start to show in Brucie and I's friendship. We didn't properly coordinate how we wanted this interrogation to go. Brucie was completely focused on getting the location of the Joker. Meanwhile, I was more interested in finding the wallet thief. In the chaos, the fourth assassin of the night took us by surprise and gave Brucie a dose of some rather potent stuff. Brucie, we're getting flashbacks to that one party back in your misspent youth. Brucie slowly limped his way back to the elevator to get back to ground level. I was, of course, unaffected by the video game poison, but in order to not rub that fact in Brucie's face while he was having a particularly bad reaction, I didn't mention it to him. Upon reaching the surface, Brucie and I were accosted by the assassin again, this time with a number of clones doing some rather unnerving movements. I'm not a fan of that at all. In a rather strange display that honestly made me question just how much the poison really affected him, Brucie immediately started moving like normal the second the fight started. Bit strange, but I suppose we don't have time for that right now. This is also about the only time the entire night Brucie and I used the concussion detonator. But before long, Alfred had delivered his home remedy developed during Brucie's teenage years, and he was feeling much better. Restored to full power, we made quick work of Copperhead and prepared to lock her in a shipping container. Before we could slam the door in her face, however, she let slip that the Joker was hiding out in the Gotham Royal Hotel. Brucie's face lit up and he slammed the container shut and rushed out. Next stop, Gotham Royal Hotel. Sneaking in through the basement, we encountered some of Black Mask's gang who, like most other organizations under new management, seemed to have undergone a change in brand. The clown masks just reminded Brucie of Joker and made him fight even harder to get back to him. Entering the lobby, Brucie found the body of that one guy from earlier. What was his name? Shocker? I can't remember. Anyway, continuing to give in to his Esche tendencies and possibly in an attempt to impress the insane future supercriminal upstairs, he lifted the shock gloves right off the still warm corpse. Classy, Brucie. As we continued to make our way further up the hotel, the decoration became increasingly reminiscent of the Joker. Not Brucie's colour, obviously, but if I have to hear another word about the flow of the design from him, I will literally go insane. Anyway, we soon entered a quickly cobbled together amusement park, with an extremely simple puzzle I somehow completely missed. See this wooden wall? Like all the other ones in the game? Well, I didn't. Instead, I threw batarangs around the place for a while, trying to electrify them off the floor, and then just fell into the obviously electrified water. Well done, me. Oh, wait, I can see it now. Yeah, okay. I'm fucking blind, apparently. Yeah, dumbass. Continuing my streak of blindness, I struggled with the next puzzle as well. Well done. Fortunately, the next puzzle and fight went well because I seriously needed a win after that. It does appear that my incompetence then spread to Brucie, however. Oh my god, Brucie. This happened several more times. In what I thought was a stroke of genius, Brucie finally decided to take the lift. However, I was quickly educated as to why that was a bad idea when Bane immediately ripped us out of the roof and threw us into the wall. Sorry, Brucie. Something seemed off about this Bane though. Not that Brucie noticed, of course. He was too distracted by the porcelain-skinned psychopath. I figured I'd give them a little privacy to do whatever the fuck it was they were going to do. But of course, Joker couldn't be normal for a moment and oh my god, what the hell are you doing now? Guys, this is kind of weird. Oh, thank fuck Bane is back. Oh wait, shit, we're gonna fucking die. Ow. Okay, Brucie, get your head back in the game. This is serious. Okay, jokes aside, the Bane fight actually went better than I expected. Things were a little sketchy at the start as I slowly tried to figure out the timing, but once I had that down, it wasn't too bad in the first stage. Second stage wasn't too bad either, especially now that I know just to run in circles to avoid the Bane train. Besides that, it's just me getting the timing right and dodging out of the way whenever I messed it up. Once you've got it down, Bane isn't actually that hard. Didn't stop me from having a couple skill issues followed immediately by extreme levels of salt. Okay, well, I counted that, but okay, whatever. You're done for, mate. I counted that, but okay. I counted that one too! Nevertheless, Brucie and I successfully managed to avoid being killed by Bane until the cops Alfred had called earlier showed up. They did get rocketed though, sucks to be those guys. Bane ran away like the little bitch he is, Joker pissed him off and got himself rocketed, launching himself off the rooftop. Brucie of course jumped down to save him, giant softy. Sadly, just as they were starting to get to know each other, the cops showed up, forcing Brucie and I to make our escape. As we flew into the night, I pondered Bane. We'd faced him in the past, well, I suppose the future and the now, but this was different. Brucie, of course, pondered Joker. I managed to get his focus back onto the rather sizable task at hand, following Bane to his base. We quickly picked up the freeze blast, glue grenade, and prepared to head back out, and that's when it happened. Brucie and Alfred got into a fight. Luckily for Brucie, it wasn't a fist fight, or Alfred would have reduced into atoms. Alfred was concerned that Brucie was in too deep, not only with the group of assassins after his head, but with the Joker too. Brucie didn't want to hear about it. He took Alfred's concern as a sign of Alfred not wanting him to pursue the Joker. With the matter unresolved, Brucie stormed out to Bane's hideout.
Don't let him
Brucie, you sure you're not been on the Venom too? Bane's guards inside the hideout were no more of a match than those outside, and quickly fell before the might of Brucie and I. Deeper inside, while Brucie was looking into some drug Bane was working on, I couldn't keep my hands to myself and accidentally picked up a reel which turned out to be a Riddler collectible, which, as you can tell, I was extremely thrilled by. Oh fuck, I did an extortion. No, I did a Riddler thing by accident. Recovering from this particular blow was going to take a while, but it was nothing compared to what was to come. The screens came to life, and what we saw shocked us to our very core. Bane knew Brucie was Batman. How could this be possible? There's no way he could have figured it out. In all the later games, he has no idea who Brucie really is. There was only one answer. The body of Bane is currently being inhabited by the wallet thief. This changed everything. Bane was now a far more dangerous opponent. One not simply seeking to kill Brucie, but to erase him from existence entirely by changing the timeline. Brucie stormed out of the room, destroying it completely on the way out. We had to get back to Alfred. The only way we'd be safe is by being with someone as powerful as him. Brucie just had to hope he'd take him back after what he had said before. And if things couldn't get any worse, our sixth assassin of the night, Firefly, chose this exact moment to make his move, taking hostages on that fucking bridge! Brucie and I were, of course, scared shitless by the whole situation, but we knew we had to go save the hostages. Otherwise, we'd never get that good start with Gordo, and the wallet thief would succeed in destroying the Batman. Social life. Brucie and I made another attempt to get things going with Gordo, telling him about the bombs Firefly had placed throughout the bridge. Sadly, Gordo was once again unreceptive to our offers for help. Resolved to make a good impression on our future friend, Brucie and I set off to disarm the bombs. Arriving at the first bomb room, Brucie and I found that not only was our detective vision jammed, but some of the gargoyles appeared to be rigged to explode. That's not good. No, it was not. And despite realizing this, I still ended up using one of the rigged gargoyles. Anyway, we got rid of the jammer, and it quickly became nap time for the rest of the room.
Then I promise you a good night's sleep.
Sleep well with the giant bomb, guys. Brucie and I's bomb defusal skills were as sharp as ever, and Firefly's rather topical passwords were quickly cracked. The second bomb room got off to a bit of a rough start, since Brucie and I elected to use a rather loud takedown instead of a silent one. Fortunately, you can always count on the criminals of Gotham to be completely clueless, so after getting our shit together, the room and the bomb were light work. What apparently wasn't light work was a slightly raised cable. Despite Brucie and I's disagreements on what was and wasn't a walkable surface, the next bomb room was so easy it barely merits mentioning. On our way to the final bomb, we finally came face to face with Firefly. His fire-related puns were so unbearable that Brucie and I quickly forgot about the final bomb and instead became entirely focused on shutting him up. In our rage, we just started throwing everything we had on the utility belt at him, which turned out to actually be a viable strategy, since Alfred apparently made the glue grenade highly heat resistant. Thanks, Alfred. Regardless, fire is rather difficult to dodge, so Brucie and I decided to run away to a better arena to finish him off. I don't overly feel like getting barbecued today, mate. I know you're after the bunning sausage and that's kind of what got us into this whole mess, but I really don't feel like becoming one, so let's go, Brucie. With more space, and perhaps more importantly, nowhere left to run, we turned to fight Firefly once more. However, the whole nowhere left to run part did become rather inconvenient as the flames started to close in around us. With nothing else left to do, Brucie and I grappled onto the pyromaniac and went for a rather nice ride over the bridge. Until he crashed, that is. The human blowtorch is defeated. With Firefly defeated, Brucie and I went to speak with Gordon and apologise for any trouble we'd caused him. Gordo seemed to be coming around to us, though he still didn't entirely trust Brucie, which was fair. Remembering the threat in our lives, however, Brucie and I quickly made to return to the Batcave. Upon our return, fires raged throughout the cave, our lair in ruins, our technology destroyed, and Alfred nowhere to be seen. We quickly restored our detective vision and found him buried under the rubble. He was in a bad way, and died shortly afterwards in Brucie's arms. How could this have happened? Alfred was meant to be the most powerful man in the universe. Regular Bane wouldn't have had a chance against him, much less dared to come face to face with him. The wallet thief was operating on a whole different level than we'd thought. This was no common street thug. This whole time we'd thought his goal was to destroy the Batman by killing him, thereby erasing him from the timeline, or preventing him from forming the popular image he later enjoys, forcing him to remain in the shadows. Instead, the wallet thief attacked the very heart of this whole operation. The man who raised Brucie. The man who healed his wounds. The man who gave him hope. In a fit of rage, Brucie punched the ground, the shock gloves he stole earlier discharging into the rock. We didn't know how the wallet thief had managed to kill Alfred, but we did know that his body was highly durable, and with a little kickstart, could come back to life.
Come on, damn it.
All units, code 10. Received code 10 confirmed at Blackgate Prison. Suspect identified as the Joker.
It worked. He was back. Alfred's brush with death taught Brucie that what he had was special. His allies were his greatest strength, and with a few wise words from Alfred's mouth, he was ready to give the wallet thief hell. Returning to where we started the night, the rioting inmates had no idea what they were in for. Inmate after inmate fell before us. Room after room cleared. Nothing could stop us. Room full of 10 armed inmates with hostages? No trouble. Anti-bat mines ready to blow our legs off if we get too close? It's like they're not even there. Heat vision goggles capable of detecting us on gargoyles? There are plenty of others. Brucie and I ripped through the room like a well-oiled storm. Hang on. Each inmate was methodically introduced to the bat fists and shortly afterwards the floor. We even engaged in a little theatricality and deception just to really screw with them. No panic from Brucie and I whatsoever. I have to use the hack. Oh, he can see me. With the inmates dealt with, the room was safe, so Brucie and I freed the hostages, including one Harleen Quinzel. I'm sure we won't be seeing much of her in the future. Okay, maybe not entirely safe. Through the sound of our ears ringing, we managed to hear Harley telling us that both Bane and the Joker were waiting for us in the Panopticon. For the first time tonight, Brucie didn't lose focus at the mention of Joker's name, which made me really proud of him. Yet more inmates tried to fight us. You know how this goes now. Giant gang of inmates trying to overwhelm us? Have you considered shock gloves? Enforcer enemy? Have you considered shock gloves? Venom user? Have you considered shock gloves? Yeah, the shock gloves are overpowered, but really fun. Finally, we entered the Panopticon. Joker and the wallet thief had joined forces. Despite forming a trio that would make Wolfmother proud, Brucie and I had a difficult choice to make. Bane had attached a heart rate monitor to himself, so for every second that he remained alive, a bank of batteries would charge. When they reached full capacity, they would discharge into the electric chair Joker strapped himself into, killing him. Thus, we were left with 3 options of who was to die: the Joker, the thief, or the knight. I made it very clear to Brucie that the last option was not on the table, and rather predictably, he didn't like the first option very much either. That left us with only one option: kill Bane. Now, you'd think that this would let the wallet thief win. If Brucie killed Bane, his reputation would be forever tarnished. However, a bit of that Alfred wisdom from before told him that if we could stop Bane's heart, then the wallet thief would be forced out of his body and back to the future. Then it would be as easy as simply reviving Bane quickly as we did with Alfred. What could possibly go wrong? Once I had the timing down again, it was easy as 1, 2, 3. Got him. Brucie and I knew we had to move quickly, since every moment we let Bane live was another step closer to that electric chair going off, especially now that Gordo was up there too. With one last shock glove beatdown, Bane was going down, the massive electrical shock stopping his heart. Joker, clearly not understanding our play, jumped up and declared victory before shooting Gordo and running off. Fortunately, Gordo never leaves the house without his bulletproof vest, something which is honestly a pretty good idea in Gotham. We turned our attention back to Bane, putting the shock gloves back into defibrillator mode and shocking him several times. Bane snapped back awake, looking like himself again. The good news was that the wallet thief had been exorcised from his body. The bad news was that Bane, now quite cross, had injected himself with a dosage of TN1 and was now probably going to kill us. Brucie had the bright idea to draw a circle with the explosive gel, not sure why he thought of that since there was no real way of knowing there was a convenient Bane-proof cell block down there to fight him in. Must have been the Alfred wisdom again. Defeating TN1 Bane is a test of stealth, but like Victor in Arkham City, you can't use the same tactic against him twice. Well, you can sometimes, which we'll get to. Bane had an awful time getting jump scared from the floor grates, the wall grates, behind him, and from around a corner. Twice. That's the only one he chose not to learn from, apparently. Bane wasn't much of a fan of our teasing, however, as he then decided to punch us through a wall. However, his lack of observational skills was once again his undoing, as we electrocuted him again, finally defeating him for good. With Bane finally down, we had some time before the night ended to do something Brucie had been wanting to do for hours. Finally kick things off properly with the Joker. In the beautifully decorated chapel, another beautiful thing was born. Perhaps it wasn't the most normal relationship, but they weren't the most normal people. With each punch, Brucie knew it to be more and more true. He and the Joker were made for each other, and while they would certainly have their ups and downs, one thing was for certain. Now, he had a reason to love Christmas.